Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Hare Krishna. I am Rajarsi Dasa. Welcome to Hare Krishna today. On today's program, we're going to continue our discussion on the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita entitled Devotional Service. In this chapter, Krishna is answering Arjuna's question as to which worship is better. Those who worship him in his personal form, or those who worship him in his formless manifestation. Krishna already specifically pointed out that those who fix their minds on his personal form and with faith engage in devotional service to him, they are the topmost. But Krishna continues now to describe the qualities of the devotee that makes them very, very dear to him. Previously, we covered very interesting topics where Krishna shows his merciful nature to all beings of this world. He said that if you cannot just fix your mind upon me, engage all your intelligence in me, then follow the rules and regulations of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, you'll develop the desire to attain me. But then he said, and if you cannot do that, then you just work for me. And then Krishna went on again. If you can't just devote your life and just work for me, then you could engage in the process of meditation, cultivation of knowledge, but better yet is renouncing the fruits of action. Because generally when people perform their activities, they're very much attached, thinking I am the doer and I am the enjoyer of the results. But Krishna concludes the chapter by describing the qualities of devotees. So if we want to become very, very dear to God, there's nothing ambiguous as to how we should be or what we should practice. Let us go back to the last verse we conclude with in the previous chapter, 13 and 14, and then we'll continue the verses of this chapter. Krishna says, Advaishta sarva bhutanam maitra karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankara samadukha sukhakshami santushta satatam yogi yatatma dridha nishchaya mayarpitamano buddhir yomar bhakta same priya. One who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor, and is free from false ego. But before I continue, you may say, what does that mean? He doesn't think himself a proprietor? It means that he knows that everything in the universe is owned and controlled by Krishna. So seeing himself as simply part and parcel of Krishna, he knows that he is just a servant of Krishna. Whatever is available, whatever is made available to him at his disposal, he simply utilizes in Krishna's service, knowing well that it belongs to Krishna. We say there are mantras when people are offering jagya to Krishna. They chant, Idam Krishnaya idam na mama. Everything belongs to Krishna, nothing belongs to me. And free from false ego. We said false ego is the false concept, the misconception that I am something different from an eternal soul servant of Krishna. In other words, false ego means I think I am a temporary body, man, woman, black, white, I am related to this community, these belong to me, and so on. All of this constitute false ego. Then Krishna says, who is equal to in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fix on me. Such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. Then Krishna says, Yasmano dvijate loko lokano dvijate chayaha harsha marsha bhayod vegair mukto yasa cha me priyaha. He by whom no one is put into difficulty and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety, is very dear to me. Now, to cultivate these qualities, Krishna is saying, he by whom no one is put into difficulty. Now think about it. We should carry about ourselves in such a way that we are not a source of pain, a source of inconvenience to anyone. Not anyone, but any being. Jiva himsa means never commit violence to any living being. Srila Prabhupada has a statement in Srimad Bhagavatam that one should see to it that his eating habits does not cause inconvenience to other living beings. You get the point, right? You should see that your eating habits doesn't deprive other living beings of their bodies. Yes, some people, for the satisfaction of the tongue, they cut the throat of poor creatures. As someone may say, but you say there is life in all living beings and you're vegetarian and you consume fruits and vegetables and so on. Of course, when you consume fruit, you don't destroy the tree. But even if the vegetable is destroyed, the actual fact of the matter is that there is a law. Jivo jivasya jivana. There's a law in a material nature that one living being is food for another. So you should take into account how the law applies to you if you're a human being. If you're a tiger, we would excuse you. If you are a tiger, we won't go quoting Bhagavad Gita to you. No, you are let off the hook. Why? It is accepted and understood that in that body, you will be consuming the body of other living beings. But good luck for the tiger. He's exempt from reaction, yes, but not the human being. When the soul gets the human form, a different rule applies to him. In the lower species, they have that body on account of their desire to control and exploit the material nature, so they're given that facility. So that's already their reaction there. But when the soul evolves from that situation and comes to the human form, he is not expected to act just like an animal. Human life is governed by Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Or at least it is meant to be guided by scriptural injunctions. A spiritual master, like Krishna says in the Gita, Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshinaha. That you just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Learn the truth about matters. And you say, well, how does he know the truth? Well, he is a representative of God. And God has given Bhagavad Gita, his direct words as to what he wants and what he doesn't want. So the Guru knows that truth. He is a Tattvadarshi, he is a seer of the truth. So he can impart that truth. He can reveal that truth to us. Chakshur unmilitam, he can open our eyes with a torch of knowledge. That's Guru. So it's very important that we meditate on these qualities of the devotee. So Krishna is saying again in this verse, he by whom no one is put into difficulty. And furthermore, he is not disturbed by anyone. Yes. He doesn't allow himself to be disturbed by anyone. Who is equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety, is very dear to me. Now, fear, bhaya, the Bhagavad says, bhayam dvitiya bhiniveshatasya. As soon as the souls, the eternal souls, turn away from God, immediately bhaya, fear seizes the living being. Why? Because the soul no longer has that all-powerful Supreme Master as his shelter and protector. Why? Because Maya is a state of consciousness, a state of existence in which the soul thinks himself separate away from God. He doesn't perceive God and his relationship with God. He perceives himself Ishvara Aham Bhogi. He thinks, I am the Lord, I am the controller, I am the enjoyer. That's the souls in this world. They're not conscious of God. Krishna says, Avritam Jnanam Etina. The soul's original knowledge and understanding is covered over by this Maya. Maya, or the Lord's illusory energy, has these two potencies. Avaran Atmika covers over the memory of the souls. And Prakshep Atmika throws the souls into different situations in which the soul identifies and thinks, I am the controller of these people. Yes, I belong, these are mine. And that is the formula for suffering. That's recipe for fear and chaos. Because remember, we have a fallible body. We're identifying ourselves as these bodies. The association we are identifying with is faulty association. Krishna will mention that soon. We'll cover that. But this fear, bhaya, fear and anxiety. So he's saying that the devotee is free from fear and anxiety. How? Why? Bhajahure mana Srinandanandana abhaya charanara vindare. Because the devotee has taken shelter of Krishna, Sri Nandanandan, abhaya, he becomes fearless. Once a person becomes a devotee and he takes shelter of Krishna, Krishna says, Ma shuchaha, don't worry, have no fear. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo, I'll free you from all sin. No more reactions will come to you. Have no fear. This is Krishna's assurance. Pratijani priyosimi, I promise you that you'll come back to me. Priya, you're very dear to me. So, even when old age, jara means old age. Vyadhi means disease. Now, so for a person who doesn't know that I am an eternal soul, his whole world is crumbling around him. His body is falling apart, and it means your body falls apart, then you can't control and enjoy anything again, so your whole world crumbles. But the devotee lives in a different dimension. I am an eternal soul. Krishna is my Supreme Master, my Supreme Lord, and He is my protector. Giving up body is like giving up old garments, putting on new one. No big deal. It's not a problem. Dhiras tattara namuhyati. Sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So let us see how Krishna continues to describe the qualities of the devotees who are very, very dear to Him. He says, Anapeksha shachir daksha udashino gata vyatha sarvarambha parityagi yumar bhakta same priyaha. My devotee who is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities, who is pure, expert, without cares, free from pains, and not striving for some result, is very dear to me. Yo na rishyati na dveshti na shochati na kangshati shubha shubha parityagi bhakti manya same priyaha. One who neither rejoices nor grieves, who neither laments nor desires, and who renounces both auspicious and inauspicious things. Such a devotee is very dear to me. Samashatro cha maitri cha tatha manapamanayo shitoshna sukha dukheshu samasanga vivarjitaha tulya nindastutir mauni santushto yena kenachit aniketaha stiramatir bhakti man me priyo nara. One who is equal to friends and enemies. Tough one, right? Listen again. Who is equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy. Who is always free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who doesn't care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge, and who is engaged in devotional service. Such a person is very dear to me. Now, is it possible? Krishna is saying, Sama Shatro cha Maitri cha. Sama Shatru cha Maitri cha. Shatru means enemy, and Mitra means friend. And Krishna is saying, my devotee, he is Sama, he is equal to all. Now, are we really aspiring to come on that level? Let us look at one of Krishna's devotees who actually exemplify and display this quality. Arjuna's brother, Yudhishthira. We mentioned one of his name is Ajata Shatru, one whose enemy has never been born. Now you could say, what do you mean he has no enemy? What about Duryodhana wasn't his enemy? No. Srila Prabhupada said that people may think that I am their enemy. They may think like that. But I am not. So Duryodhana may think Yudhishthira is his enemy. Actually, in Duryodhana's mind, he knew that Yudhishthira is all virtuous. Let us look at an example that displayed this. When by the wicked deeds of Duryodhana, Yudhishthira and his brothers, their wife Draupadi, they were all, their kingdom, they were deprived of their kingdom. They were miserable in the jungle, in the Dvaitavan forest. The envious Duryodhana, he, along with his wicked allies, Karna, his uncle Shakuni, they decided to give more pain to the Pandavas while they were already suffering in the forest. They decided to go and show off their opulence and humiliate the Pandavas further. But they were doubtful whether the blind king Dhritarashtra would give his permission. But they came up with a good excuse. Our herds, our cows are grazing in that area, housed in that area, and on the pretext of checking on the cows and so on, keeping check on the cows and so on, we're going on a journey there. Dhritarashtra was reluctant, but he agreed. And they proceeded there with their evil intentions. But on the way there, of course they camped a full 4 miles there with their army and so on. And there was a beautiful lake there. And Duryodhana had his followers go to set up there, and so that we'll go and enjoy there. But when they went there, Pt3, the king of the Gandharvas are beings from the higher regions of the universe. So the king of the Gandharvas, Pt3, along with his followers, many Gandharvas, they were having a good time at the lake there. And when Duryodhana's followers came and ordered them that Duryodhana is in the area to move, they laughed and said, "Idiots, who you think you are to order celestial beings? Go and tell your boss Duryodhana that if he desires to remain with his life, leave this place immediately and return to where he has come from. Or this very day, he'll find himself at the abode of Yamaraj." When this message was taken to Duryodhana, he was furious. He said, "Who are these fools? I am king of the world. Who do they think they are? Get the army together and get them out of there." So, they put their army together and they went to attack the Gandharvas. And sure enough, the celestial beings, they defeated Duryodhana's army. Karna, the most powerful of the warriors, he escaped with his life. He ran away, and Duryodhana was captured along with the woman and many people. They were taken prisoners. But some of the followers escaped, and they went to the other side of the lake, and they found Yudhishthira, the Pandavas there, and they begged, they said, "Please, our king Duryodhana has been arrested and taken, and they are imprisoned by the Gandharvas." Yudhishthira, he had taken a vow, he was performing a sacrifice, but he ordered his 4 brothers to go. Oh, before that happened, Bhima said, "Oh great, what we would have had to accumulate an army to do on battlefield. By providence, their evil deeds has come upon them, that they have gotten the reaction for their misdeeds. And Yudhishthira said, "Stop it, Bhima. When people come in distress, looking for help, it is not time to speak like this. They're distressed and they need help, and we should." He ordered Arjuna, Bhima, Nakula and Sahadev to go and have fight or whatever, have the Gandharvas release Duryodhana and his family. And Arjuna went. And first requested that they be released, and when they refused, then a great battle started. Just before Arjuna, Bhima, Nakula and Sahadev, they had the celestial beings, the Gandharvas, on the track. They defeated them, and then Chitrasena, the leader of the Gandharvas, came as a friend to Arjuna and said, "Actually, we were sent here by Indra. Duryodhana came here with evil intentions to show off on you all, and we were actually sent here to check him. And therefore we cannot release them." So Arjuna said, "If you actually want to please us, this is the order of Yudhishthira." And Chitrasena, but he doesn't know what intention they came with. So they agreed to go to Yudhishthira. And Yudhishthira, in a very humble way, appealed to the Gandharvas to please release Duryodhana and his family. This is one who is, we are describing here, Samashatrucha Maitricha. He is equal to friends and enemies. Even though he was miserable and suffering due to Duryodhana, but he had no enmity in his heart towards Duryodhana. And he ordered the release of Duryodhana. The rest of this is actually very interesting. Duryodhana, he was so mortified that he decided to commit suicide. He wanted to give up his life. But of course, Duryodhana is empowered by the demons. So they saw that their purpose will not be served. So then some demon took Duryodhana in his subtle form to the lower regions of the universe, and there the demons empowered Duryodhana. They counsel him that actually in a battle to come you will be invested with power, and demons will take over those other powerful and virtuous persons and make them act in ways that are improper and so on. And Duryodhana was all convinced about it, and then he gave up his intention of giving up his life and so on. And then the battle came, and it wasn't like that. The demons may conceive, make many plans, but it doesn't succeed. So anyway, just to conclude this chapter, it says, one who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equipoise in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who doesn't care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge, and who is engaged in devotional service. Such a person is very dear to me. And the final verse of this chapter, Yetu dharmamritamidam yatoktam paryupasate sharadhanam matparama bhaktaste tiva me priya. Those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. So, this is the glorious part of devotional service to God. Bhaktas engage in bhakti to Bhagavan is called Sanatan Dharma, the eternal soul's eternal duty towards God. And this bhakti ras, the mellow of devotional service, eternal, all blissful, transcendental. So it begins with the chanting of the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. By chanting the glories of the Lord, by hearing the glories of the Lord, we can revive our original spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness. I am Rajarsi saying Hare Krishna, and do join us again next week for another presentation.